It's your boy Jason Avant here with the Q&A show. I can't even count how many shows it's been so far. We've been having so much fun. I'm here with my main man on the Inside the Birds platform, Q&A show, the Q portion of the show, my man Quintin Mikell. Say what up to the people, Q.
What's up, man? What's up, everybody? Happy to be back. Excited. Got a lot of stuff to get into. So, let's have some fun with it, man. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, and we always want to thank the fans and everyone that tunes into the show each and every week. Thanks to Jeff and thanks to Adam for having us on the show, Inside the Birds. And everyone that's paying attention, Wednesday, 6 a.m., the new show drops. Wednesday, 6 a.m., the new show drops. Inside the Birds YouTube platform, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're on all of those things. Amazon Music Podcast. We are blowing up like a bomb. No one knows what I'm talking about. That's Martin for you guys that don't pay attention to pop culture. All right. But
aging yourself a little bit.
Yeah, Martin. You know that, man. Martin. Yeah,
it's timeless, right? Though. It's timeless, though.
Martin is aging. It's like, I don't know, Martin, Jordan's, like that's all the same thing. Timeless. Right?
There you go.
Let's talk about a few things today, Q. We're gonna dive right into it. Right? We talked about some interesting stuff last week on the draft and many other things. This week, The Athletic came out with a bombshell of a story. Now, and look, in most situations, I would, take it with a grain of salt. I'd be like, they don't know. 41 pages later, boom. 41, like, do you know how much information is being divulged for you to come up with 41 pages? Like, are you kidding me? That's like that's someone's like finals, like all combined. What are we doing? 41 pages. That was some good information that someone was sitting down, listening to a friend, someone that understood the inner workings of the Eagles organization and came out with a 41-page landmine that's completely corroborating many people's thoughts and opinions about the offseason. That's kind of putting the icing on the cake for some that this team and this organization is in shambles and it's looking healthier than what it actually is. What are your thoughts and your opinions on what came out?
Yeah, man, it was crazy. My initial thought was my initial thought was like, well, that makes a lot of sense as to some of the moves have been being made, some of the decisions that were being made on the field, off the field. It just nothing quite gelled together, and it actually makes a lot of sense once this report came out, because now you have a situation where you have multiple ideas, thoughts. I thought this, they thought that. And it's really what's been, manifesting on the field since the Super Bowl year is a lot of confusion, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of, how do I say, just flat out, just confusing decisions. So, in the report, I mean, I've been in that building. You've been in that building. I won't say that it's 100% correct, but
it's a lot of truth to it.
A lot of it is true. Truth to it. Yeah. And sometimes that could be a good situation. Sometimes it cannot. Obviously, in this situation, it went south quickly, very quickly. And we're at ground zero right now, trying to rebuild from all of it.
Now, so there's a few things in that story that we're going to highlight, we're going to talk about, because I know the fans want to know about it. When they talked about Mr. Lurie having a Tuesday meeting with Doug, basically giving him an explanation of all of the play calls and the decisions that were made, fourth down, third down, how the run pass ratio, all of those different things. Like, to me, in my mind, I'm like, do you have a head coach or do I have a flunky? Or do I have someone that, I don't trust at all? This guy just won a Super Bowl, and the next season he has to go through, prove it to me again, type of, scenario. So that particular part of the story was very, very shocking to me. However, I can see it happening. What do you think about that particular part? And as a coach, you are a coach. You've been in the building. You were a player, and you know how this league works. Do you think that would make you feel a certain way? And then also, where do they do this? Like, what other team do you know that will do something like this? Because I know 100% they wouldn't do that to Coach Reed. So why would you think this happening to Doug Peterson?
Yeah, well, so that's one of my things. So in the story, it said that that never happened when Coach Reed was a coach, and I don't necessarily know if that's true. I certainly don't think it happened every Tuesday, but I do think that there were times where Coach Reed had meetings with Joe Banner and Jeffrey Lurie and probably to explain some things. So I wouldn't go out and say that it never happened. But so my whole thing, first of all, is we all have to understand this. First of all, it's Jeffrey Lurie's money. It's his team. Like, he can do whatever, and I've said this before on the show, he can do whatever he wants. If you put in your money and your billions of dollars on the line, you can choose to do it as however you want. Yeah. However, you did hire people for a reason. And I do understand, like, it's a tough one for me, because if my money's on the line, I'm going to make the decision that I want to make, and I'm going to fall on that sword. But also, if I'm paying someone else to do the job, maybe let them, let's see if they know what they're talking about. And I think this all really goes back to how things went down when Chip Kelly was there. I think Lurie trusted Chip Kelly a little too much and gave him too much free reign. And all the moves they basically dismantled. They got rid of LeSean, like, you were gone, Trent's gone.
A good talent, a talented team.
And it was like that, Yeah. And I think that really kind of weighed on Mr. Lurie. Like, listen, I'm not letting that happen again. So he's getting more involved. And it's his money, it's his team, it's his right to do that. But at the same time, I think sometimes it can backfire. And I think that's what we're having happen right now.
Yeah. So I agree with you. In that point. It's this man's team. He is the person that put up the money to make this organization. He brought the first Super Bowl to this organization. All the chips and all the responsibility is on his shoulders. However, when you hire people that do this as a lifestyle and a way of life, this is their only pathway. They're not into movies. They're not into stocks. Mr. Lurie on one end, football, he can put down this game tomorrow and will never have to pick up, a football or go in a draft room or watch tape or anything like that anymore ever again, because he's that diversified with his own personal finances, right? So when there's not pressure on you, I don't necessarily know if you can evaluate the game where this dude needs to make this pick right because this is his family's livelihood. Yeah. It's a total different experience. It's just the same way as a kid that comes from means trying to make it to the NFL and then a kid that's coming from nothing. That kid is going to have a lot more passion. He's going to have a lot more determination than the kid that's coming from means. So when you think about that, I would tend to put my trust in someone that I hire because this is what he does 9 to 5 every day, what he's been thinking about, what his life is dependent on. That person is probably going to make a better decision than you are in this situation. With that being said, you still have the last say so. And he had the last say so. And I'm sure we hear about the J.J. Arcega-Whiteside pick. I'm sure that there were picks along the way that Mr. Lurie influenced that worked out well.
Yes.
We don't know those because the story is a negative story and it's shining light and crevices. And that's the point I want to make to the fans that are hearing this today. The reason stories come out like this is because there's enough people in the building of the organization that feel like they're being squashed and that their opinion doesn't matter.
Mm. Wow.
When stories like this come out, there's a bunch of people that want to say it live open air, ESPN, podcast, amongst this person, amongst that person, but they feel like they're being squashed and that their opinion doesn't matter. So they feel like they have to go and leak that story. Now, I can tell you I've never been a part of a leak story or anything like that, but I understand the mentality, especially in this situation where I've been in an organization, and your goal is to try to protect the brand. So you die to yourself. And while you're doing all of that, you see that everyone isn't dying to themselves. And some people have different agendas and everyone isn't on the same page. So you have stories like this that happen when people are not being heard. So in order for stories like this to go away, the management has to acknowledge the fact that if you bring a person in your building and they're qualified, allow them enough personal respect to take their opinion into consideration. Do you know how frustrating it is to scout players all year long? College, pros, alternative leagues. These scouts know everything about the waiver wire, everything about everyone's families and everything. This is what they do. And for you to build up for a draft and your opinion is not taken serious, it's frustrating. And stories like this can come out because of that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents on that particular portion of it. Now, there was another part of the story, Q, and I'm going to toss it back to you. Said that Mr. Lurie is, watching multiple, TVs when it comes to not just multiple TVs, but watching tape and breaking down players. And this is something that you have to admire as a fan. One thing that you have to admire that the owner is not just twiddling his thumbs or he's making his money in a different place. The one thing I will say that I know, Mr. Lurie, he's a friend of mine and he loves the Eagles. Yes. This is what he loves to do. He likes to be around it. He wants to be better. He trusts in his analytics team. He wants to be better. And when you go to a different place, you realize the Eagles was pretty special because they try to do everything that they can. He puts the team in position to win with the most modern equipment, technology, and science. Like, he's always trying to push the envelope to bring another Super Bowl. So I respect him for that. Do you think that him watching all those all that tape and JJ Arcega-Whiteside, Jalen Reagor, Jalen Hurts, Davion Taylor, all of these things, do you think that plays into his desire to want to be more of a scout and GM?
Well, no, I think, and I agree with you 100%. When I was playing, he was very, very involved. He studied a lot of tape, and he really does love the team and he loves the players and always at the forefront of new technology, like you said. So he's 100% one of the best owners in the league. And so I do get a little frustrated a lot of times when people, kind of, I would say, not attack him, but think that he only cares about money. Like he cares about the team, he cares about the players, he cares about the game. So, let's put that out there right now. Yeah. So now when it comes to the question of him watching tape and studying, to me, it's a tough one. And then it really kind of goes towards, Howie and also Alec. And it's one of the things that I've always kind of felt.
Go ahead.
So on the one hand, right? On the one hand, analytics has become a big thing in the game of football. Everything from, stats and all that stuff to fantasy football and all. So it's gotten to a point where you have to let the analytics become part of your decision making, right? You have to be able to put on the tape, look at the tape, and be able to look at certain things. And I find it, I think it's hard if you never really played the game of football to see those minute little small things that make a difference. The small things that'll make looking at JJ when he was coming out compared to another receiver the year he came. Forget the other receiver that
Jalen
came
Reagor, or last year, or
no, the year JJ.
DK Metcalf.
Metcalf, yeah. So just there's like little nuances to the game that you develop playing the game that you can see things, and it's hard to quantify. It's hard to to really like explain that to someone that's never really played. And I think some of the best GMs and the best teams and the best situations, they take a little bit from each little pot, right? You take a little bit from the analytics, you take a little bit from the interviews, you take a little bit from watching the tape, and that's how you put it all together, and that's how you make the right choice. And so, I think a little bit, watching the tape is amazing, but I also think, maybe watch the tape with your analytics guy, and then watch the tape with the football guy, and then watch the tape with another guy. And then that way you get a more rounded view of the potential pick, or the potential player, or the potential, draft pick. So,
yeah,
that's the way I'm kind of looking at it. And I'm hoping it's more along those lines. But based on this story, man, I don't know what to think.
Yeah, that Q. You hit the nail on the head, right? Because every person that is interested in football has an opinion. To prove that, go online and make a bold claim about anything, and somebody's gonna say you don't know what you're talking about, you're dumb, you're stupid, because everyone has a fantasy resume. They feel like they're the GM, they're playing with house money online, or they're playing a video game, they're pros at Madden. So everyone can recognize a player and see a player and they understand. Most people do not understand it. Even if you're watching film, you can watch hours of film. If you don't know what you're looking at and you don't know the intricacies of the game, you don't know if a receiver is right. You don't know if the center is the one that's causing a problem for the left tackle jumping off sides. You don't necessarily know if it was the safety that was pointing at the corner at that moment. Was he supposed to be on third or half or whatever? You don't know if you don't understand the whole picture. So watching tape is good, but it's only half of the equation.
Yes.
You have to understand. And that's where football knowledge, high level football knowledge comes in, because that person or those people can tell you in that moment, this player is good because of this, this, and this. What you're watching on tape will not translate because of this, this, and this. What you're watching on tape will translate because of this, this, and this. That's a football player. And I don't know if there's enough football players, enough football people that are in the decision-making rooms in the Philadelphia Eagles organization. Now, that's just 100%. You got Connor in there, and that's a good thing. And you have a few more people that are trying to get into to break the circle, to get into position. But you need more. And those guys that understands what an athlete is and what a football player, his limits, what they can't do and what they can do, why this move will work and translate. You need a football player.
Yeah.
You need a football player to basically dumb down what the tape is showing you.
Right.
And I don't think there's enough guys in there, because I know there's a lot of guys in there. I don't know if I don't know if a bunch of guys, ever, play football in their life. And I know that there's a bunch of guys in there that have never played the game. And and that's a problem. You need more guys that have played the game.
Right. Just like on the other side, you wouldn't have a strictly football guy going and negotiating contracts and balancing the
books or whatever it is, balancing the salary cap or whatever. You can't.
Right. So and again, that kind of goes along the lines of what I was saying, is like you got to get a little bit from every angle, right? You got to get a little bit from every pot. So, hopefully that changes in the future, and get some more football guys in there to help.
You had Connor in there, you had Dawkins in there, and you wonder like why Dawkins left, because they just won a Super Bowl, and then Dawkins steps down. It was bizarre to me that he stepped down. Was it that he felt like he couldn't make enough of an impact there because his thoughts weren't being taken serious? We don't know. And that's what stories like this kind of in some way kind of confirm, that there's not enough people in the organization with enough say. If you have a small room of Doug and Howie and Andy and Alec and Mr. Lurie, You have a scouting department of 25 people that are doing the grunt work, that are actually touching and seeing the players. And that's one thing that's flat. Like, you cannot draft a player who you have not had some intimate time with, not just in a classroom, just to see his athleticism live.
Yeah.
Like, to me, I don't know if I were in that position and everybody said, if you know that, I don't think that I could draft a player that I haven't been around, because there are certain guys you see on tape, and when you get next to him, you're like, oh, he an athlete. He gonna be able to figure it out. Yeah. And the tape may not show well. But you've been around him and he's in his element, and you're like, oh, this is the reason that this ball is being dropped, or this is the reason where you know, he's getting beat on this route. It's a technical thing. It's not something that's a deficiency in his play. Yeah. And you only can find it out in person.
Yes.
So, right. You know, there was a portion of it, Q, that talked about Alec Halaby. Mm-hmm. Alec is the analytics guy. He, quote unquote, in the story's term, is Howie's guy. And a lot of the decision making, some people feel that it's coming from the analytics portion of it, and they're depending on it entirely too much. Now, if the analytics portion is the portion that causes Doug Peterson to go forward on every fourth down, whoever that is need to be, if that's the case, need to be fired right away. Because I'd be pissed. As a coach, I'm like, man, why do we have to go for it on every fourth down? It just doesn't make sense to me. Let's kick the field goal this time. It's the first quarter. It's okay. You know why? Because you chased that point for the entire game. Because now you missed that point, you're going to go for it again the next time. You missed that one, now you're going for it again. And then before you know it, you're chasing a 1-point high for the rest of the game. Yep. And it's just constantly compounding. So whoever that analytics person is needs to be fired immediately. I don't know if that's whoever that is. I'm not saying that's Alec or not. But what I am saying is that the story suggests that they feel like he has so much influence over everything. Now, he's an Ivy League guy, loves Michigan. So I got nothing but respect in my conversation with Alec, you know. But a lot of people feels like there is this division, scouting department, and then the black ops team. And listen, Q, their argument in this story is there's a lot of truth to this. There's people that feel like this is a group of people that are untouchable. And you can't have that in any organization where this group of people is above the law and no one can touch them, and they're exempt. None of the rules apply to them, and it's not going to make out for a good situation. And therefore you can end up firing a dude that's just won a Super Bowl 3 years ago because of that portion of people. So I don't think that was good. What do you think about this Alec Halaby thing?
Yeah, I know Alec. I was in the building when he was in the building when I worked there for the Eagles for a year. You know, seemed like a nice guy. I didn't really have like a lot of one-on-one conversations with him, just a couple, you know, hey, here and there in the lunchroom stuff. He's very intelligent from what I know. Very good with the numbers. That being said, again, like kind of going along the lines of what I was saying before, like so the way I look at it like this is he's presenting the numbers. He's presenting the numbers and the numbers or whatever he does. I don't know exactly what he's doing, right? Whatever he's doing, he's presenting the numbers. He's not the one making the decisions. So ultimately the decisions are coming from, you know, Howie and Jeffrey Lurie. So I can't really blame him too much in terms of, you know, he's just doing his job. He's being asked to break down this, he's being asked to do that and present it. What I do wonder though is if in the story it was saying that people were wondering if he's undercutting what they're saying, you know, basically he's calling him an interloper or someone that's kind of getting involved in areas that they shouldn't be getting involved in. And so that part of the story makes me wonder a little bit. And if that's the case, I think it's a bad situation. But if he's just presenting the numbers and saying, hey, this is what, for instance, on fourth down, the numbers say we should be going for on fourth down more. If he's just presenting the information and that's it, fine. If he's presenting the information and, Howie is taking that information and then breaking down the coaching staff every Tuesday, like we heard in the story, questioning every move based on these statistics, then that becomes an issue. And I do think if that's the case, then, obviously it wore on Doug, because, if you in the story said it came after a couple wins. I think it was a Packers game.
Yeah.
And, they won the game. The Eagles won the game, and you're being questioned on a Tuesday over some numbers, or why didn't you pass it more? Why didn't you do this? So I think strictly if it's just him presenting the numbers, then he's doing his job. If he's presenting the numbers and then making suggestions to people that are above Doug, then it becomes an issue. And so I don't know. I wish I had a better answer in terms of, what's going on there. But
yeah,
I hope that it's just he's presenting numbers, and whoever's getting numbers are the ones that are forcing it down people's throats.
Well, I like your take on that, right? Because this is where we're in the dark. There's some that we have more of an educated guess than most. And in some cases, I may know the answer, but I won't necessarily divulge it. but I will say that you're right. If his job is pure analytics, but that's the problem. You know why? It's because no one else knows what his job is. So how can you reprimand or say this guy's just doing this when no one else knows what his job is?
Right.
And then therefore now you have division, because now there's room for speculation. And when there's room for speculation, it will happen because it's not clearly defined. Whenever there is a role that's not clearly defined, you kind of paint outside the lines because there's really no definition there. So automatically you're going to infringe on someone else's territory.
And another thing too, like I was, I've kind of thought this a lot. And again, I hate to keep coming back to this, but it really, if you've never played the game before, right, but you're used to numbers, you're used to reading numbers, you're used to reading stats and stuff like that, you're going to feel more comfortable with that than actually having to play a game, right? So if you if you've never played, right, let's say you never played and the numbers say that you should go for it on fourth down more, you're going to be like, well, why don't we go for it on fourth down more? But if you played before, you know that the chances of getting it on fourth down, like you just broke down before, you're going to be chasing that point the rest of the game if you don't get it.
If you don't get it, yeah.
And so sometimes I feel like, people that are good with numbers and used to numbers, they like numbers. Like it makes them feel
empowered,
part of the game, and it makes the decision easier for them because they can't quantify not having a fourth down play ready to go. All right. Or not having a backup quarterback and feeling like maybe he's not ready to run a fourth down play this early in his career. So just little stuff like that. So I feel like sometimes the decision makers, they're so comfortable with the number part of it and the analytics part of it that it makes an easier decision for them to say, we should have gone for that instead of, we shouldn't have. We should have stayed aggressive, or we shouldn't have stayed aggressive. So I really do feel like that is a big part of the issue when it comes to the analytics part.
Yeah, every Chip Kelly and Moneyball, the baseball movie, and all of these. Now we have all of these gurus and sports science and all that stuff. It's a place for it. I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's a place for it. 100% it is.
Yes.
But this game, a lot of times is about a feeling, emotion, confidence. When that momentum swings, when the defense gets a pick and the fans are up high, the offense are up high, it's time to take a shot, baby.
Yes, sir.
It is. And the analytics may say run the football. No, it doesn't. Like, because that's the way the game flows. But analytics can't replicate game feel.
Mm. Yeah,
It just
that's
can't.
100%.
Like
Yeah.
it can't. Like you can quantify yards, you can quantify, this and you can quantify all of that. But you can't quantify, okay, my tight end had just made 2 spectacular catches. And yeah, I can run it on this, or I can throw it to him because I know that if it was NBA Jam, he's on fire,
Yeah.
right? If it was NBA Jam, he's on fire. Okay, so I can go get a dunk, or I can rain it from half court right now, and
Yeah.
that may be throwing it to the tight end in this play,
Yeah.
right? There's no stat for that. That's just coaching.
Mm. Yeah.
The backup corner is out. It's first down. We should run the ball. The analytics say 6% chance, that you get 5 yards on first down. The backup corner's out. Override. He's wearing high tops.
It's a wrap.
In a quarterback face mask. Throw it at him. Right? Forget it. Yeah, like what are we talking about? Like, no, that trumps everything.
Yes.
Right? So but if you get into this game now we're laughing and we're joking, but there is a time, and I think analytics should be basically in its priority.
Mm.
I don't care what anyone says. There is no analytics that says, okay, this 4th down play is going to be more successful than another play.
Yeah.
That's just happenstance. And we can put numbers on happenstance, but that's just happenstance. Unless you can identify a defense, now that's actual, right?
Yeah.
So if a person, if this team is in this wide 9 technique and I got 45 sprint draw call, it's a good chance that this play is going to work. And that's based on what the defense is giving me. That's not based on some chances of it going or not. It's just based on what the defense is giving. And I believe in that. And that's more football. Okay, if it's this coverage, if it's that front, this play is going to be higher. Okay, I'm okay with that. That's good football. That's good analytics. But just, okay, this plays, it's, 6% work in this situation. Like, I don't know about that, because what if this play they're in cover 0 for the play that we have and they're in a better defense? Like, that's
exactly.
it.
Yes.
It's over.
Yeah.
So, back to the point. Alec Halaby, I personally think he's a good guy.
Yeah.
I think he's in the crossfire of people trying to get at Howie within the organization.
Yes.
And since they can't do anything to him, the Alec B is a fall guy for that. That's what I think.
I believe you 100%.
So
it's crazy, man.
So I think a lot of people can get thrown into the fray because of this. Now go ahead, speak. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no, go ahead. Yeah. I was just saying, like, it's crazy. 3 years ago, Super Bowl champions, and then now it's gotten to this point where you got reports like this leaking out. You got it seems like everyone's arguing with each other in the building, and it's just crazy, man. It's a sad situation, really, because the team was on such a high a couple years ago, winning that Super Bowl, and it just seems like it just unraveled so fast.
It unraveled so fast because there was a lot of decisions. I thought that the Super Bowl was the blessing for the city, but it was one of the biggest curses as well. It's a blessing for the city because we longed for it. We wanted it after so many years. As a player, you want it for the fans, and this city deserves it. People have been going and spending their hard-earned dollars. Veteran Stadium, Chuck Bednarik and Franklin Field, and on and on and on, right? So, and you have heard of the mystique and seeing other people winning, and you want your Super Bowl, and they were able to deliver that.
Yeah.
But that brought also a wave of arrogance. And where there's pride is, where pride is, or arrogance, there's going to be destruction right after, because the haughty spirit has to go down. It's only one way it can go. It's already up. It's only one place for it to go. It has to come down. Mm-hmm. So I believe that happened because I won't say lucked, but we had one player play out of his mind, and that was Nick Foles. For the last few games of that season, Nick Foles played out of his mind, and he played out of his mind in the Super Bowl. Yeah. I'm not saying that he was the only person, but he played out of his mind in a few of those games. Yeah. And that brushed over the fact that, okay, we didn't address corner. Our roster is aging. Our receivers are older. Our quarterback has an injury history of not being able. We don't necessarily have a young running back on the roster because Miles wasn't there at that time, that moment. So there are so many different needs that the team had, but it was all masked by the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And before you know it, you take that Super Bowl and you begin to nitpick at it and stuff begin to unravel. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looked great. Like, it's just like something you buy online that looks fantastic and you get it, it's cheap, and you're like, man, as soon as I bought it, I put it up, it's falling down. And that's how it was. It was good for a moment, it was good for a situation, and before you know it, but the roster was a lot worse than people thought. And I thought that gave people in the organization, especially in the front office, false confidence. Yeah. But they did win, and we did win a Super Bowl mainly through free agency. So you got to give Howie credit for that. Hey, because it wasn't through drafting; it was through free agency. Yeah, yep, no doubt. So all right, we can cover that topic. We done beat it up. We're gonna transition. That story is worth a read. The Athletic had that story, and we're only on page 4. Remember, I told you it's 41 pages, ladies and gentlemen. It's 41 pages of nonstop.
Body blow.
I'm like, man, if this story here didn't like totally just like confirm the off season as a fan.
Yes.
This story, it kind of confirmed the off season as a fan. It's like the way we handled the Carson Wentz situation was horrible. The way that we ended the season, I was on that staff, was horrible when it came to tanking the last game. Then we moved back, and like there is like so many different things that's showing signs of weakness. Then you have the division, you have the stories, you have this, you have that. The way we handled Doug Peterson's firing was so bizarre. Like, why not fire him on Black Monday?
Yeah.
You need a second meeting to know, like, you've been with this dude for 4 years, 5, whatever it was, 5 years. Like, you've been with him the entire time. You need an extra week in order to fire him? Either you're going to fire me or not. Yeah. Then you got the Carson Walsh and Mike Gross situation. It goes on and on and on and on. And every time this comes up, it's sustained. And the way we're handling business right now is not very, very, I don't know if I trust it. And as a fan, everyone's holding their breath like, man, what the hell is going on in the locker room down there? What's going on in the organization down there? I don't know what to do. Should I give away my tickets this year? What's going on? That's what people are thinking. People are like, man, that's what people come up to me and is like, hey, man, should I sell my tickets this year? I'm like, man, yeah. People come right in Launch Trampoline Park, Deptford, New Jersey. Please come out. We're having birthday parties and everything that you need. But people will come right up to me at Launch and like, man, should I sell my tickets this year? I'm like, man, that's rough. I ain't telling you to do that. But because people are scared. They don't know. This is the first time, at least with Chip Kelly, you had a resume of college. Right. You had some type of understanding of, and then you had the comfort of knowing that the roster was good. Even though the team was losing, the roster was still young and it was still good. So there was some comfort there.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Mm-hmm. Here, we don't know what we're getting a head coach, and the roster isn't the best. So this is the most panic that an Eagles fan has experienced since Ray Rhodes.
Wow. Yeah. I could feel that.
Now that's just true.
Yeah.
The Eagles hadn't been in this situation where there's not much hope.
Yeah.
We always have hope in Philadelphia. We always believe it. This is Rocky City. But this is one of those years where the hope is dwindling each time a body blow of a story like this comes out. And we got to go to the next subject. But go ahead, you talk.
Yeah, I mean, and the only thing that's going to fix it, give us hope, is if we have a good draft, like a great draft.
We got enough picks. So hopefully we can get. But hold on. Don't you say it. Don't you say it. Oh my God, don't you say it, say boy.
I'm not saying it. Let's move on. Let's move on. All right.
What's good? What's good? Let's say we got all those picks. You got a lot of picks in KC. No matter how many picks you got. All right. Next topic, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about the NFLPA. The NFLPA is doing something to me that, frankly, I love. This is the type of stuff that I wish the NFLPA did when you and I were playing. Because basically here is what the last few collective bargain agreements were. The owners would take a slightly more or just a bigger percentage of the pie. We're talking, a few percentage points of the pot of the collective revenue share. And the players would get more rest. They would get less off season. And the owners would have to spend more of the salary cap because teams historically, the Cincinnatis, the Clevelands, Jaguars, whoever it may be, would only be at the minimum, which would be like 62% back in the day. Now they have to spend 90-something odd percent of the cap. Therefore, that's why guys like Golden Tate will get a massive deal if they're in that position because they have to spend the money. So a player that doesn't deserve a contract will ultimately get a contract because of the salary cap stipulation that was placed with the collective bargaining agreement. But the NFLPA in this situation has finally stepped up to the plate and is forcing the league to adhere to certain portion, to remind the players that these quote unquote non-mandatory OTAs or practices are literally, they're not mandatory. There's always this sense of pressure by the players. Yeah, these are not mandatory, but they are mandatory. And if you miss them, we're going to punish you for them. Since the NFLPA came out and showed with a broad show of force that we're in agreement with you as players to stay home. And that's what that report said. DeMar Smith, JC Trader of the former center of the Browns, talked about how the game is actually better because of a lack of offseason that the players had last year. That in most of the top categories, the NFL season was more of a success. There was 30% less injuries and there were fewer concussions because of a shortened offseason. And therefore, they should continue to do that shorter offseason along with the COVID potential scares and the uncertainty of COVID. And I agree with them. What do you think?
So I don't know.
Hold on. Am I thinking about the Clearview head coach defense coordinator coming out? Take him back home. I don't want to hear from him right now. Take that hat off.
So two things. I disagree that the game was better this last year. I look at the game through a different lens than a lot of people do. I like to watch defense. I like to watch defensive play. And I thought the level of defensive play wasn't as good as it has been. Now, some people can say that's good, that's bad. A lot of people like,
points
and scores and all that. So from that aspect of it, yes, I understand that part of it was a better game. But me personally, I don't think that the game was good, as good as everyone's touting it. Okay. And I do agree. I think what the NFLPA is doing is very good, and I think it's at a time right now where it's a difficult decision for me personally, because I find, like, I always try to think about it from my point of view, right? Mm-hmm. When I was a player, and I loved OTAs. I loved OTAs because, and you could probably attest to this, one of the biggest things I miss about playing the game is hanging out in the locker room, right? Like, that part. Go and hang out in the locker room. You go work out. You do some drills and stuff. Then you go home. But you spend time in the locker room. You get that's where your team really starts to grow. Like, that's where you start to kind of joking around with each other. You maybe watch a little film together. Like, that's when your team kind of comes together. And so I struggle with it a little bit, because on the one hand, I understand fully that players should be kept safe, right? They should be safe for their families. They should be, socially distancing and all that stuff. But at the same time, I just find it hard that, like, for me personally, I don't know, especially coming up as a undrafted guy, I don't know if I would have been able to stay away, because I needed that extra work to get better. I needed that extra time working with the coach to get better and to work on my game. And so I feel like what's really going to hurt is the guys that are marginal players, the younger guys, the guys that need the reps to become better players. Mm-hmm. I think that's what it's going to hurt. And it's tough, because it's almost like they didn't even, those marginal area players like myself used to be, they're not even getting the opportunity. It's like 100% nope, we're not showing up. And so now you got a guy, let's say a rookie free agent.
That's a good point. Go ahead.
Yeah, like a rookie free agent that maybe barely made the team the first year. He's trying to come back and work out and be in shape, but now he doesn't have a place to work out. He's got to go home, maybe, So I feel like it's a hard question all the way around. It's not just cut and dry for me. And the stars, the players making millions of dollars, the guys are already locked in their spots. It's fine for them. They got places to work out. But the guys that are at the lower edge of the barrel, it's tough. It's tough for me.
So this is a Republican Democrat conversation within the NFL ranks, ladies and gentlemen. Or this is definitely it's not Republican, but I'm just saying it's a class system, and it is. The NFL is a class system. The lion's share of people in the NFL are not rich, ladies and gentlemen. I'll say that again. The lion's share of the people in the NFL are not rich. They're making league minimum. Most of the NFL makes league minimum. And the guys that are the headliners, they make money. And those guys will be the first ones to tell you to, hey, man, we shouldn't go to OTAs. We should wait to training camp. And yes, there's a guy that's looking like Quintin Mikell wouldn't have had an opportunity if he just waited till training camp, because in training camp, you have to know the plays. So now the person that's a veteran that's been in the system a while is going to have the advantage, because you can't possibly play fast if you don't know what you're doing. So you're not going to show as well. And you have that opportunity doing OTAs and off-season training to perfect the playbook. And so therefore, when training camp comes up, you know just as much as the veterans, which gives you an even playing field. So I understand what Q is saying. I also understand the other side of it as well. From a collective bargaining arrangement only, I side with the players that want to sit out.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel that the collective bargaining agreement is ever taken serious from the player side. Because we bargain to have non-mandatory practices and to be able to show up when we like in the off season. But based on the pressure from the organization and the coaches, it's become a silent mandatory practice. So damn right, I'm happy about somebody finally standing up and saying something and poking the bear and standing up for standing up to the bully. Because if it's been bargained, it shouldn't be pressure. It should be a decision that's made by the player at his sole discretion without any influence of anyone else.
Yes.
And that's where I agree with the players from that aspect. But I also understand and empathize for the player that were like you and myself. When you're in fourth round, there's no guarantee, right? I've seen third rounders get cut in training camp.
Yeah, me too.
So there's no guarantee. So you need that extra time. And that may be the answer. Those young players may need it. And maybe it should start out as OTAs going forward should be for the younger players that gives an opportunity for them to compete in training camp.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. But I do know also there's a lot of coaches that will take advantage of this. They will.
Yeah. 100%.
They'll beat you down. They'll run you into the ground. And from that perspective, there was less injuries. And I believe that for sure was a reason why, because your legs are dead most of the off season because you're doing so many different practices for the coaches.
Yeah. I didn't have that same experience. And then maybe that's why my viewpoint is a little, now it's different for receivers. Man, y'all be running routes for days. I don't know how y'all do it.
And Coach Reed's deal, maybe the receiver's gonna you're gonna run. I tore cartilage out of my knee my rookie year just because I had all the reps. In OTAs training camp. They wanted to see me, so I got thrown a ball in OTAs and training camp. Most of the times I was in. So and before you know it, the last practice and the last OTA, the last play, doing a walkthrough on kickoff return, I turn around, go down, my knees bad for the rest of the year. It's, so that's just my story. But I do know that there are some positions that there's the organization has prayed EY, right? PREY on the players and their loyalty in this area. And I don't think that it's ever been fair, because if there's a collective bargaining agreement that says it's up to you, it should be no outside influence, then that should stand. It's almost like being on a job and the boss is complaining about people taking 30-minute breaks when you're supposed to get a 30-minute break. He complains, man, the break should be 20 minutes. The break should be 20 minutes. And then fire somebody for not going to break 20 minutes. Automatically, you feel intimidated, so you come back 20 minutes. And that's what's happening in the National Football League. They're taking away rights that was negotiated in collective bargaining, and that's what's happening. And I think that the NFLPA stepping up to them is a huge step going forward, that you can't be bullied. It's almost like, and that's what unions do. Yeah. It protects you from the organization that will have a misuse of power. And the NFL has misused this power for so long. So therefore, I agree with them in this situation.
And you can see it with the 17-game season. They've been trying to get the 18 games since when I was still playing. And I remember it was like no way in hell we're getting 18. Yeah. Fast forward a couple of years, and now we're at 17. So I'm wondering how the union is taking it. It seems like they've accepted the terms, but I thought I'd never see the day where you have 17 games. And personally, I feel like 17 is too much for the game. 16 is plenty.
It's plenty. I think the game should go in the opposite direction, and this is why I think it should go in the opposite direction. As with the games going up, it makes it less and less appealing, right? Yeah. When the games are shorter, every game counts. The more you go in the positive direction of games, right? 17, 18, 19, the games become less important.
Yeah.
So therefore, I don't have to watch the NBA because they have 82 games. I don't have to watch the NBA into the playoffs. Who gives a damn what happens with the Cavs and the Clippers or the Brooklyn? Like they're not even playing half the time, so I don't care. Who cares about baseball season? No one. They can go in a 10-game losing streak. No one cares. In the NFL, you're scrambling around when you found out that somebody's hurt, and you only got 16 of these weeks in order to win fantasy football. Man, come on, stop playing. Right? So everything matters. Yeah. So going in the opposite direction, and it's greed. I think too much of anything is a bad thing, and I think that the NFL has its perfect situation at 16, 14, 15, somewhere in there. The more you go up, the more people get familiar with it, the more it begins to be normal, the more the less it matters. And I think this is where you begin to cannibalize your own product by being too greedy.
That's true.
So that's where I am, Q.
I agree. Hey. Listen, we just talking. Everybody has a different take on everything. Yeah, and I agree with 100% with everything you said. And looking at it from your perspective, I do get a better understanding. And it's just one of them situations. I try to put myself in the situation, talking back about the virtual off season. I feel like me personally as a young guy, I think now veteran me, see, that's the difference. Like veteran me be like, all right, I see you.
Catch me in Maldives. I see
4 years coming up me. I gotta be there, man. I gotta be seen. Shoot.
That's 100%. That's true. And therefore, I think that best of both worlds is perfect. You put the young guys in there, the guys that are unproven. Once you got 3 years, you ain't got to do it no more.
And I kind of feel like a lot. I feel like a lot of those guys probably would want to be there. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but
the younger ones.
Yeah, I suspect. They would want to be there.
Yeah, because they coming fresh off the brainwash, right, from college. The brainwash. They coming right out of the brainwash. People don't know. They're like, what is Jason talking about right now? The brainwash. College will make you think that it's about the team. Oh, it's the team. It's for the colors. It's for the orange and the blue. It's for the blue and all right. So tell me this. How much the head coach get paid? Exactly. Head coach at Michigan makes $10 million a year. Or $7 million. I could be wrong. It could be one of the two others. But yeah, it's just pretty high. Now it's $7 million. But so that's a lot of money. And I'm not just speaking about, Jim Harbaugh. I'm talking about the college system that brainwash kids into believing because they're not mentally astute enough to be able to recognize, okay, this guy really does not love me. He really has an invested interest to win football games.
Yes.
And so, and in college, you always hearing that, and you leave college thinking the same thing. Like, man, it's great. It's a team. We're together. They keep you tight. You think y'all tight, y'all knit, you're close knit. No, they're really trying to stop you from getting in trouble. So therefore they organize all of these close knit type of team building exercises so they can know where you are and you're not getting in trouble. Exactly. So you come with that mentality. So the first couple of years in the league, you begin to realize, like, man, I was totally hooked. Totally. I was running amok. I was bamboo.
For real.
Right? Your first couple of years is like, so yes, I agree with that. That's all I have to say. Yes, in the first couple of years, those guys be like, yeah, the team. By the time you get to year four, you're like, year four, you're like, yeah, me.
For real. Shoot.
And you
learn quickly, man.
And you always try to be a team guy. You always want to be, because I think that's the most noble place to be, is a team guy, but that has to have some balance. You have to have some balance with it. You can't allow the organization to use that word so freely, team, and then cut a guy, or withhold a guy. I remember one time we withheld Trent Cole from getting the sack record or sack bonus because you probably didn't recognize it because it was so subtle. But we were in.
Was I here? Was that?
We were in, because you guys, I think you're here because you guys were on the field, right? So you don't recognize the subs, especially like defensive line subs. Like you may recognize you may know a certain sub because of a blitz or I don't know how your inner workings work, but I can imagine that you don't know the rotation of the defensive line most of the times, like the defensive ends, right? Yeah. So I noticed because I like to watch the game. I hate unless I'm dog tired, I'll go to like the cooler and sit down. But most of the time I'm sitting there watching y'all play and because I see what's going on. And third down comes in and two rushing situations. It was like a 2nd and 15. And then it was like a 3rd and 12. And Trent's on the sideline with me. And he's walking the sideline furious. Like these man, what's going on? And I'm like, Trent, why aren't you in the game? Like, we're in playoff contention. Like, we down too. Like, what's going on with Trent? He's like, man, then when we get the sack record or the sack bonus, like I get an extra $100, plus $1,000 if I get this sack record. And I've been taken out for the last 2 games in these situations.
Wow.
Like, dang. I'm like, dang.
I need to talk to him. I wonder.
So yeah, you should have a conversation with and what that did was that kind of shined a lot of light about the inner workings of the NFL and how it works. It's not just the team. This is a money game.
Oh yeah.
And you have to know when you can take advantage. And the players that the fans hate and the media hates and the organizations hate, they the smartest players.
Yeah.
The Darrelle Revis that everyone hated during contract situations. Yeah. Or a guy that's going to hold out like Joey Bosa coming into the draft, or a guy that may not show up to training camp because he's not getting paid enough. The guy that they build as a villain, he's actually the smart player, ladies and gentlemen. The guy that just go on, that's for the love of the team, he's actually the dumb player, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just letting you know. You can, and that's the power of the media. That's the power of the organization. That's the power of the people that are making handshakes with the people that are relaying the story and the image. The guy will always look like a criminal or look like a bad guy because he's holding out or doing this or doing that. He's actually very smart and he has a lot of balls. So stop talking to the fans. Like stop killing them because the organization and the media is trying to do it enough because they don't want enough people to recognize what's going on.
Yeah. That's true. Shoot. That's crazy. So now that I'm thinking about the Trent thing, I feel like I might have been. Was Joe Banner still there?
I don't know. I don't know the front office deal because I wasn't too abreast to what was going on in the front office at those times. Like as you get a little bit older, because you remember like when
you start to find it,
you start to know more as you're about to get out of the league. That's when you're being like, dang.
Yeah.
And when the light comes on, they cut you. He knows too much. Get him out of there.
That's for real. That's cool, man. That's good. I'm about to hit him up for that. But no, you're 100% on that, man. It's cutthroat, man. It's a fun game. We love playing it, but it's definitely a business. It's definitely cutthroat, and you got to have thick skin to be able to play in the NFL, man.
100%. Q, that's going to end our time. We getting done in a record. Unless you got something else, we can keep going.
We good.
We get done in a record. I think we get about a minute, about an hour and 5. I think maybe I don't know. Maybe somewhere about an hour.
I think that's the first time. Yeah.
In the history, we're trying to shorten it down a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. But we want to say thank you to everyone that's been tuning in, to Adam and Jeff, everyone at Inside the Birds, Hunter, that's cutting up the tapes, that's doing all the things that's making the show successful. We want to say thank you to everyone. Again, Wednesday, 6 a.m., we drop Inside the Birds platform, YouTube, Amazon Music, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Make sure you're checking us out. This is the Q&A show. I'm signing out. Jason Avant. Q can have the last words. Peace.
Let's do it, man. Hey, as always, appreciate it. Much love to everybody. Keep watching the show. Keep checking this out. And drop those questions, man. We love getting them. So talk to you guys later.
Peace.